A group of high school juniors struggle through the various hurdles of life, narrated by a recovering addict who's falling in love for the first time. Welcome to Every Show Ever. I'm Ken, and my mission is to watch every show. Ever. So that you don't have to. Today, it's just me and Phoebe, and we are discussing HBO's Euphoria, an absolute trip of a television show, might I say, just to start this off.
You have to put pun intended in there, either before or after you've just said that.
Oh no, no pun intended. I'm so sorry.
I kept waiting for you to do a wink or something, and then there just wasn't anything. It's like, oh, she just doesn't realize.
No winks intended. So yeah, if you missed it in the intro, this show is about Rue, played by Zendaya or Zendaya?
I've heard it both ways. I'm sure only one is correct, but I've definitely heard it both ways.
Yeah. So yeah, played by MJ in Spider-Man, who is struggling with addiction. So she's gone to rehab, and this is her first semester back at school. She's only a junior in high school, and she's already overdosed. She's going through a rough time, all of the people around her are also going through a rough time.
Literally everybody is going through a rough time.
We've got Jules, who's the new girl at school, who's something happened with her mom, and we don't know what happened, but her dad got custody, and that's pretty rare. We have Kat, who a video of her losing her virginity was leaked on the internet. We have Maddie, who's in an abusive relationship with Nate Jacobs. We have Cassie, yeah. Cassie's in a new relationship with a college guy. And she also has
a bunch of leaked videos of her as well.
Yeah.
Basically, half the people on this show have leaked.
Yeah, they're all dealing with stuff. Yeah, but that's our main cast of characters, I would say.
Yeah,
because Lexi doesn't matter, and I can't emphasize that enough.
I wish she mattered more. That was one of my things. I was like, I really like her. I want her to be in more of the show and actually have a purpose in it.
Yeah, and I think they're sort of setting her up to have a bigger purpose in season 2.
Yeah, and I would like that for her.
Season 2 has already been announced, so I hope she has a bigger thing. We both said at separate times in the show, we think Kat should be the main character.
Not to be dramatic, but I would die for Kat. Kat must be protected at all costs.
I love her. I love her little friend, Ethan.
Oh my god, I love him. Precious.
But Rue's the main character, I guess, for a reason. That reason is she's the narrator. She's an incredibly unreliable narrator, but we get the impression that she's been told all of this information through... And she tells us, she's like, Jules didn't tell me until later, but Kat said this and stuff. So it's almost like a chain of rumors.
Yeah.
That we're then hearing through Rue's perspective. Who's incredibly jaded.
Yes.
As a character.
Which, I feel like you probably would be, being a 17-year-old who's already overdosed.
This was my second time watching the show, and I definitely sided a lot more with Rue, so to speak, the first time I watched it. I don't know how you felt going in.
I don't know. I was pretty back and forth, I feel like. On Rue, there were definitely some scenes where I was not on her side, but then there were other scenes where I 100% was. Which I think we can get into the specifics of those once we hit spoiler territory, because I do have a couple of examples. Almost every character, I think I had moments where I was on their side and moments where I wasn't. And,
absolutely. And I think the show does that really well. The thing that you're going to notice when you go into the show, if you go into the show, and I will say heavy cringe warnings, heavy trigger warnings for rape, suicide, drug abuse, all these things. I
watched this show over the course of 3 days.
Sorry.
It did have a non-zero negative impact on my mental health. I don't suggest binging. Take it slow because it's a stressful show. And
it's intense.
Honestly though, I do think the first episode was the hardest one for me to get through.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I would have thought the carnival episode is always the hardest for me.
I mean, any carnival is... If there's ever an episode of anything that takes place in a carnival, you know shit is about to go down in all kinds of bad ways. Carnivals are bad news. I don't know why people go to them. I certainly don't know why people bring their children to them. Nothing good has ever happened in a carnival.
And especially not this carnival.
Especially not this carnival. But I don't know, I feel like after the first episode, I'd sort of, like, acclimated, almost, or it was like, okay, I know kind of what to expect here, and so it was less jarring, I suppose. But there was definitely multiple moments in the first episode where I was just like, oh, I can't watch covers.
It's a ride, and I think part of what makes the show so intense is the camera work and the style.
Oh, yeah.
The camera is literally always moving.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all these sort of like hidden transitions where you're flipping around and the camera's not only moving by following the characters, but it's also moving side to side.
Mm-hmm.
I know our listeners can't see me, but I'm moving my hands like I'm driving a steering wheel kind of side to side. Not as much panning side to side and tilting, but it's like very much playing with axes and using Dutch angles and flips in that sense.
Everything's very like close in on the action too. There's not a lot of like wide shots, and so whatever's happening is almost always just right in your face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also moving.
It's also
so
moving.
It's like you get this like motion sickness feeling while you're watching it, which I mean I think is it's excellent. It's an excellent
thematically it works really well.
Exactly, yeah. The color scheme, all of the lighting I think works really well. The lighting is constantly moving too, just when in those transitional phases, so you never have like a cut from scene to scene. You always have like a thematic cut or a more of a moving transition rather than just a straight jump cut.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent as far as like production value, and the soundtrack slaps.
It is really something.
I'll have to send you the Spotify like playlist for the soundtrack because it's incredible.
I wanted to talk about the costumes, which I think this is the first where you want to talk about soundtrack and I'm over here like costume.
What have we done?
Really flipping the script on ourselves, but like I really, really enjoyed all the costumes. Like every scene anyone was in, I found myself being like, ooh, what are they wearing today?
And like you usually in shows about teenagers, you usually get not a highly stylized version like you would here. Mm-hmm. So in shows about teenagers, you'll typically get like this person wears preppy clothes and this person wears baggy clothes. It's like tight and fashionable, loose and poor, for the lack of a better word, because you're trying to draw a distinction between the rich kids and the poor kids. Mm-hmm. But this one I think did a really good job of showing how like each character has a distinct style. Mm-hmm. So like even though Kat and Maddie and Cassie are all like in one friend group and they all dress, you would think they would all dress similarly. Yeah. Each of them has their own distinct style.
And it really also does a good job of playing into how those styles are part of and affect their sense of selves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because you see in these... the one that I noticed was... that I thought was interesting was Cassie is one of her traits, I would say, one of her physical traits, and one of the things that affects her the most is that she has like double D breasts, and she's 17.
Yeah, and I don't want to in any way objectify or dehumanize the actress who plays this woman. My God, I was so distracted every time I saw her because
they're like they're a distraction, but like you can tell by what she wears when she's going out that she's dressing for that, to be attractive for that aspect of her, but it's also still, it's more like I got like an It's Fall Y'all vibe from it, because like she's got these little denim vests that she wears sundresses, she wears a lot of florals, she's very
I really loved pretty. A lot of Cassie's outfits, and one of the things I did really like about them was you would often see like when she put them on versus when she was out in them. And when she puts them on and she's just like in the house with her mom and her sister, she looks like she feels really good about herself. And then she'll go out and like someone will say something to her.
Her shoulders kind of come in.
Yeah, someone will say something to her. Someone will like look at her a certain way, and you can see that immediate sort of receding into yourself where it's like, I wish people weren't looking at me anymore.
Yeah. And the thing I was going to say is the juxtaposition between what she wears out and what she wears in bed. Like, because when she's, like, sleeping or getting up from going to sleep or getting home from a party and she changes, she always wears, like, a huge baggy t-shirt. And I thought that was awesome, that she's always, it's not, the implication isn't that it's her boyfriend's t-shirt. The implication is that she also dresses to feel comfortable, and it's not one or the other, that you can have both. You can have a character who wants to look good and feel good about themselves while also feeling comfortable. And I really enjoyed that.
And like Kat has a lot of very prominent like fashion transitions throughout the show where she'll just like completely change her style, and it's reflective of, you know, who she is, what she's going through, like how she sees herself, and it's just every time is really powerful.
And we would be remiss to talk about fashion without talking about Jules.
Absolutely. And
that Jules is functionally, Jules wears a lot of layers, but at the same time she's not wearing baggy layers like Rue does. And I don't know, it shows that she also wants to be covered up, but I feel like the bright colors say that she wants to be seen to a certain extent. But she wants to be seen on her own terms, if that makes sense. Jules is an amazing character. On the first time around, I was like, no, I'll save that for spoilers. Sorry. But I mean, if you're ready to get into spoilers.
What shows is this show like? We have to do that bit. So.
Oh yeah. What is it like?
Yeah, what shows is Euphoria like? What shows is Euphoria like?
Well, like,
I don't know. It's got like that heightened
script-wise, like plot-wise, or
it does have some elements that I think are similar to other teen dramas, kind of like Elite and stuff like that, where it's very, it's not shying away from the dark side of what's the word, adolescence, and it's just very open about all of the really difficult things you'd go through at that time, and also there's like really heightened drama. There's almost sort of like some mysteries going on in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're not sure.
Because there's a few different things where you're like,
why?
I don't know. A lot of intrigue. Intrigue's a better word than mystery.
Yeah.
But like, there's something a lot more grounded about Euphoria, but also way more wild.
Yeah, because like, people are getting murdered in Elite Day. Like, it's a murder mystery. So it's a lot less, like, I mean, I went to high school and you went to high school and we had very different high school experiences, but I don't think anybody got murdered at either of our high schools.
And I will never stop being mad about that fact, because I went to a boarding school full of rich kids and I was the poor kid and I never got to solve a murder.
And like, I think you would be very quick to compare it to things like, if you haven't seen Euphoria, you would be quick to compare it to things like Gossip Girl, or
I don't know about Gossip Girl.
I always want to say Teen Wolf. See, yeah, it's like, that's what you would think that those things are like, oh, it's about being a teenager, and it's like, no, this is way more intense than Gossip Girl ever even tried to be. And did we do the murder mystery bullshit on Gossip Girl? I don't even remember.
Almost definitely. At least twice.
Who got... Oh no, yeah, somebody definitely died in Gossip Girl.
People be dying all the time. But, I don't know, alright.
Or like, I feel like it's what Riverdale is trying to be.
That's a good one, I think. It's like what Riverdale thinks it is.
Yeah.
Where it's just like we're showing the seedy underbelly of being a teenager. And I'm like, no, you're just being weird and CW edgy. This is the seedy underbelly of being a teenager.
Yeah. And well, let's before we get into spoilers, I think both of us should say that we have not been through
Mm-mm.
anything remotely close to what Rue specifically is going through. We haven't, neither of us have really dealt with addiction or mental illness to this capacity. I've, I mean, we've each had our own struggles, but I don't think either of us, I know for a fact that I haven't ever been addicted to narcotics.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who's ever been addicted to narcotics. And so if that's something that's affecting you, our audience, I would highly recommend checking out the Choose Your Struggle podcast by Jay Schiffman. He is a public speaker and a life coach who's been through this himself. He interviews people on his podcast about their own struggles, and he's really trying to deconstruct this stigma um, around drug addiction and around mental illness and things like that. And I can't appreciate him enough for that, because when the only representation of mental illness you get on screen is like in crime dramas and
Mm-hmm.
bad teen shows, i.e., see Teen Wolf, Riverdale, Gossip Girl, where depression is portrayed as something that like you just like go to the hospital and then you get over and now you're involved in hugely triggering events. See Eric's storyline in Gossip Girl. It's sort of it's disingenuous to the struggle and
Mm-hmm.
it's disingenuous to what's actually going on. So to see Rue experience depression and cycling between depression and manic stages, dealing with her bipolar disorder is, I would, I think it's hugely affecting in a good way. I think it's very positive to see how the show takes it. So by all means, we're gonna leave a link in our podcast notes. We're gonna have a link on our website, and we'll link to him on our Twitter as well. So please check him out. Once again, Choose Your Struggle by Jay Schiffman. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can find podcasts, that's where he is, and he's really cool. He's got a lot of good things to say, so definitely take his word over ours, um, as far as any of that goes. So now that we can get a little deeper into it, Rue does eventually start to improve. She sees improvements because of Jules. And I think that's one of those things that is both, it's very accurately portrayed and it's very dangerous. And they talk about how
Yeah.
dangerous it is that you base your identity and your like reason for moving forward around another person. And she has like this I would say sponsor kind of,
Mm-hmm.
Ali,
Yeah.
who he says, so when, what are you going to do when she leaves you? And she's like, you mean if? And he said, no, when. And I was like, damn. She's
Mm-hmm.
17, Ali.
Yeah.
Chill. But at the same time, she needs to hear
I
it. She
loved
needs to
that.
hear that that Jules' life doesn't revolve around her. And so the
Mm-hmm.
first time I watched it through, I was very much, Jules like leaves her essentially.
Mm-hmm.
She leaves Rue and Rue leaves her at different points, to go to the city. And Jules like goes back to her friends, and I was like, wow, that's really bitchy of Jules that she's just gonna leave and she's not even gonna like pay attention to Rue and like she's just gonna sleep with this other girl instead. And then the second time through, I realized they aren't really dating.
Mm-hmm.
They've made out like once. And it's because it's being told from Rue's perspective that we get very invested in Jules as a savior to Rue. And part of that is emphasized in the costumes when she goes to the Halloween party dressed as an angel, more specifically dressed as Juliet from Romeo plus Juliet, and she says the line.
I just want to do brief side note. I loved that moment so much when I saw her open the doorway because I immediately recognized her as Claire Danes and Romeo and Juliet. I was like, oh my god, I didn't realize how much she genuinely looks like Claire Danes. This is a perfect Halloween costume for her. But sorry, go ahead.
And perfect for her, perfect thematically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I was just gonna talk about the line, though I joy in thee, I see no joy in this contract tonight, I think is the line.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, Rue in her, or not Rue, Jules in her drunken state is telling Rue through Shakespeare that this is gonna end badly. I like you a lot, but this is not a good,
Mm-hmm.
this is not healthy for either of
There's
us.
like so many
And that was
times
so,
There's so many times in that whole episode and like the all the area around it. right after they kind of quote unquote start dating, where Rue will say things to Jules, or other people will say things to Jules like, "Oh, you're so good for her," or "You make things so much easier." And every time I would think to myself, I'd be like, that is so much to put on one person.
Mm-hmm. And that this idea of like having to fix someone else is so incredibly stressful.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that I've dealt with, being the person
Same.
who's supposed to fix somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the things I think we bonded over early in our friendship.
Yeah.
As well. That having mutual friends who wanted us to be the person that solved every problem, and at this really all you are is someone to blame when their life goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I could not feel more empathetic with Jules about that.
Yeah.
That she's got her own struggles. She's new at a school. She's dealing with her own suicidal thoughts and her past. She's overcome her own suicidal thoughts. And she's finding love for the first time, being betrayed, being blackmailed.
Mm-hmm.
She is
going through so much. Like, every character on this show is absolutely having a day, but Jules is really having a day.
Yeah, she's a young trans woman in like a new small town.
Mm-hmm.
Who I still am not quite sure what happened with her mom.
Yeah, they never really, like, gave specifics about, like, exactly how she lost custody. We do know that there was stuff where, like, her mom had her committed.
Against her will.
Against her will, yeah.
Without her father's knowledge, it was implied.
So, like, we don't know if we don't know if that was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
There could have been something worse that happened.
Yeah. There was the implication that Jules, after Jules was committed by her mother, went back and stayed with both of her parents.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we don't know what went on there. We know everything about Rue's struggle and Rue's mother. Man.
There's a character with a lot to unpack.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack just in this whole show.
Yeah. There is no way we're going to get through all of it, even remotely.
No, I don't think we should try.
Yeah.
We'll watch season 2 and we'll do a separate episode on season 2 when it comes out, and we'll unpack even more. But I do want to say, I don't care about Nate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about anything that he's going through. He's invalid. I hate him. Please stop abusing your girlfriend.
And
acting like it's not your fault.
That is an entirely fair assessment. It's like, I understand that you have your own shit that you're going through, dude, but, like, having your own shit that you're going through does not excuse the extent to which you've pushed your behavior.
Yes, and the show definitely does not excuse his behavior at all. It's more as a way of an explanation rather than an excuse, which I like. However, they get to the last episode, and I've been fine with it up until the last episode, because, like, Nate is an important character for understanding other characters. He is a linchpin of events. Mm-hmm. He is a dastardly bitch boy who is doing all of the things that are affecting the other characters. Mm-hmm. He's the one blackmailing Jules. He's the one blackmailing Tyler.
He's the one abusing Maddie.
Who's beating Maddie. He is the arbiter of a lot of these things. He orchestrates a lot of these things, so he's important. However, once all of those pieces come into place, we still have one more episode where Nate is a character. The last episode. And his struggle in that episode is that he's too good at football, and all of the other boys on the team aren't as good at football as him. And so his struggle is that he lost the game because of other boys.
I thought they won the game.
And then his dad, like, holds him down, or they won the game, but he still wasn't, none of the other boys were even good enough, even if they won the game.
I didn't get that at all.
Pointless. There's a whole montage where he's throwing the ball, and the boys fumble. It's like 2.5 minutes long.
I thought he was the one that was screwing up, and then, like, at the end he pulled it back.
No, even the announcers are like, man, these receiving guys better, I don't know anything about football, so they're like, these catchers better help out their QB, and he's the quarterback. He's like, they better catch better because their quarterback's really pulling through. Like, the whole thing, it's McKay. that's not as good at football as he thought.
Yes, but I also all right. So
It's
I remember the
Nate
line
is
I
too
remember
good
the
at
line that you're
football.
talking about, but I remember it going like these receivers need to need to help out their quarterback because he's shit in the bed.
No,
That's how I
he was
remember
doing.
it
They were
going.
like another perfect throw from Jacobs, and it's fumbled by the other guy.
Okay,
Like
so yeah, I
they
don't.
literally
I just really
hammering in
misinterpreted that
how
whole thing.
good he is at football, and it doesn't fucking matter. I don't care. Cut the football shit because the result of that is somehow that then his dad is like he's having like a rage tantrum and his dad is like holding him down in his bed and he's screaming at his dad for being like a gay pedophile, which is fair. Yell at your dad for being a pedophile. And he's like screaming and he's like rage tantruming, and his dad's like, whatever, fine, blow off some steam. And then he just goes to prom.
I have sorry. Here was the issue I had with the final episode. The first 7 episodes was just like there was so much, and it all felt like it was building and building, and I was like, oh god, what is gonna happen in this 8th episode to give me some sense of like, where this is going, and is Nate gonna release the blackmail that he has on Jules? Is someone at the police station gonna figure out that Jules lied about her testimony? Is like, what are we gonna figure out what the fuck is up with that creepy ass client of Cats? Like,
Yeah, what the fuck is with that? Anyway.
and then basically all of the threads that they've been building for the first 7 episodes, like nothing even sort of related to any of them happens in the 8th episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I should say that Nate Jacobs is not my only problem with the 8th episode.
Yeah.
It's just the 8th episode is my biggest problem with Nate Jacobs as a character.
Yeah. And so like it was especially jarring when I didn't know yet. I didn't know at the time that there was gonna be a season 2. So I was like, is it over? And then I looked up season 2 question mark. And I was like, okay, there's gonna be a season 2. So maybe I'll still get my answers. But like it was just like a weird lack of any kind of season closure on that final episode. And I suppose which is, I suppose, kind of fair because, again, none of these people that we were just talking about are actually the main character. Rue is the main character, and she is the one who goes through the most in that final episode. Like, her and Jules break up, Jules leaves the city, she completely relapses, and there's, like, this whole sequence at the end of the episode for
it's
that
ambiguous
relapse.
as to whether or not she's dead or if she's definitely ODing, I think. I don't know if she's relapsing or she's ODing.
Well, it's one or the other, and we'll never know until season 2 comes out.
Because, like, she has this whole dream sequence, and so I don't know if the dream sequence is representative of an overdose or if it's representative of her just being high again for the first time.
Yeah.
I've heard from other people that it's an overdose, but there was nothing textually to support that I could see.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people who does other things while I watch TV, so I could be wrong. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you think there's something, if you notice something textually that supports whether or not she had an overdose. Because I don't know anything, ever. I don't know. I just watch the shows and relate the information. I'm not, I'm the middleman. As for if I would recommend this show, I would say use, just like Phoebe said, use the utmost caution, monitor your own mental health, make sure you're good, and check out Choose Your Struggle by Jay Schiffman if you're dealing with any of these things and you need someone who's also dealt with them to sort of help you through it. 15 out of 10 recommend his podcast. But yes, of course, if you have your own comments, please, by all means, shoot us an email, leave us a comment on Twitter, or of course, leave us a comment on our website. If you want to support us, you can reach out to us on Patreon, or simply just, visit us on criticalmassmedia.tv. And have a lovely evening, my dear listeners.